What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. The NCAA tournament bracket has officially been revealed. So here I'm going to give you my bracket breakdown, my picks, my predictions, my preview, and just tell you who I think is going to be in the Final Four. So this is one of the few years that I actually really have no clue right now who's going to be in. Like usually going in, I kind of have a team set that I think is probably going to make the Final Four and win the national championship. Right now, going in, I have absolutely no clue. So let's go ahead and get started here. I don't know who's going to be in. First off, we'll start in the South. Auburn, I'm going to probably pick all the 1 seeds. I don't see any 16 seeds upsetting them here. Now, I've got an interesting matchup here in the 8-9 game, Louisville-Creighton. Now, they kind of did Louisville dirty, dropping them to an 8 seed, but they also did Auburn dirty here. Not only do you have to play Louisville potentially in the second round, you have to play them in Kentucky. So that's screwing Auburn, really, and I think if they weren't playing in Kentucky, I would choose Creighton, but playing in Kentucky, I got to go Louisville. All right, next up, 5-12, Michigan and UC San Diego. UC San Diego getting a lot of hype, but when I've watched them, I haven't been too impressed with their athleticism. Give me Michigan there. A&M and Yale. This is an interesting one because A&M is kind of sporadic. They can go up or down, depending on how they're playing. They've got guards that are kind of hit and miss. They can get hot, Wade Taylor, but also they can get cold. But from what I've seen from Yale, I know they went on that run last year, won a game, but I don't think they get past A&M. Give me A&M there. Ole Miss against San Diego State or North Carolina. San Diego State probably going to beat North Carolina, but give me Ole Miss. I think they're playing pretty good right now. Chris Beard knows how to win in March. Iowa State, Lipscomb. Iowa State a little banged up right now, so it's going to depend on their health probably if they can win this game. I think Lipscomb is probably not good enough to beat Iowa State. I mean, look at their notable games here. Big loss to Kentucky, lost to Arkansas pretty handily. So Iowa State, healthy or not, I still think they win. Marquette, New Mexico, 7-10 matchup. Should be interesting. I think Cam Jones is a little too good to lose this game for Marquette. New Mexico, they've got a solid win against UCLA, but I don't really think the Mountain West is all that tough. Give me Marquette there. Michigan State, Bryant. I'm taking Michigan State. I don't think any of the 15 seeds this year are probably strong enough. All right, so move up to the East here. Got Duke winning easy in round one. Mississippi State, Baylor. Interesting matchup. Baylor's kind of been banged up, though, this year. Mississippi State, looking at their notable games here, you've got a win over A&M, a bunch of losses to tournament teams. And then for Baylor, let's see, you got a win over Kansas, and that's about it as well. So that's probably a 50-50 game. I'm going to lean Mississippi State. I think they play better defense than Baylor. Again, they've kind of banged up this year. Oregon, Liberty, this is kind of interesting on me. I'm not super high on the Big Ten this year. I think Liberty could pull off the upset, but looking at it here, I mean, their best win is probably Kansas State. They did meet McNeese State, so that's a solid win. As for Oregon, they've got a win over Alabama, win over Maryland, win over Wisconsin. I'm going to go upset here. I think Liberty pulls this one off. I think Liberty can shock them, although Oregon – Dan Altman does sometimes go on runs when you least expect it in March, so I would not be shocked if Oregon wins that one, but give me Liberty there. Arizona, Akron. Akron getting a lot of love lately, but Arizona, you've got Caleb Love. I think that's enough to probably get you over the hump. I mean, looking at Akron's losses here, St. Mary's, that's a tough team. Princeton, solid. Yale, solid. Arkansas State, solid, but I still think Arizona is good enough that if Caleb Love gets hot, they might could go on a run. BYU, VCU, 6-11 matchup. Early implications, I'm leaning BYU. From what I've seen when I've watched VCU play, I haven't been super impressed. They beat the good teams in the A-10, Dayton, St. Joe's. But, again, I think BYU is playing too good right now. I think their offense is too good. Wisconsin, Montana in the 3-14. Wisconsin just lost in the Big Ten championship. For Montana, looking at the teams they played that are actually tough, big loss to Oregon, big loss to Tennessee, close loss to Utah State, but I still think Wisconsin's a little too much there. Setting up a pretty good matchup, BYU-Wisconsin in the second round. St. Mary's, Vanderbilt. St. Mary's beat Gonzaga twice this year. Let's see. You've got a win over Utah, USC, Nebraska, lost to Boise, lost to Utah State. So those are two teams that kind of barely got in or barely got left out in Boise. But, again, wins over Gonzaga is impressive. For Vandy, win over Tennessee, that's good. Win over Kentucky. But I'm going to probably lean St. Mary's here. I think they get the job done. They've been here before. They usually don't advance somehow. Last year, I think they got upset by Grand Canyon. But I think they win this one. Alabama, Robert Morris, give me Alabama here. I think Alabama gets the job done. Speaking of Grand Canyon, I forgot to touch on them, but I think they actually might be able to go on a run here. Let's go ahead and go down to the West. All right, we'll go with Florida here first. I think Florida gets the job done easy against Norfolk State. UConn, Oklahoma. Seeing a lot of people picking Oklahoma here. Solid matchup. UConn is not the team that's going to go on a run and win the national championship, probably, but I still think Oklahoma's a little too hit and miss. So give me UConn in that one. Setting up a pretty good matchup, though, Florida and UConn second round. Memphis, Colorado State. These two right here. Actually, heck, these three games right here. Memphis, Colorado State, Maryland, Grand Canyon, Missouri, and Drake, all 3 games to watch. Memphis, Colorado State, both teams that are really hot right now. Memphis, a lot of it's going to depend on Tyrese Hunter's health. Looking at who they've beaten, got a win over UConn, got a win over Michigan State, win over Clemson, win over Ole Miss. So those are all good teams, but Memphis has won pretty close games this year. Colorado State, though, is hot. They went on a run here. I think they've won like 10 in a row now. They've beaten some good teams in the Mountain West that made the tournament, obviously. If Tyrese Hunter is healthy, I think Memphis wins. If not, though, watch out for Colorado State. This is going to be a close game right here. All right, Maryland, Grand Canyon. Grand Canyon kind of team to watch last year. Maryland, I haven't seen much of them this year, I'll admit. I know they've still got Reese. That was pretty good. I know they're starting 5, like leads the nation in points. Big Ten, I'm not super high on this year, though. See, they got a loss to Marquette, lost to Purdue, lost to Ohio State, Michigan State, wins over Illinois, Wisconsin. For Grand Canyon, let's see. Now, their best player has been hurt a lot this year, so I think that could impact how they're playing. I think they'll get better as the tournament goes on. This one's 50-50 for me. Jacoby Coles, you may recognize that name from TCU, and then Tyon Grant Foster dominated last year, kind of got some first-round draft buzz. I'm going to go Grand Canyon here. I think Grand Canyon gets the upset over Maryland. That's going to be a good one. Would not be shocked if we get a 12-13 matchup there with Colorado State and Grand Canyon. All right, Missouri, Drake. Missouri, a lot of losses, 11, but they have been pretty good at times this year. Wins over Kansas, a win over Florida, win over Alabama. Alabama and Florida, that's hard enough to beat. Drake, solid year, win over Vanderbilt, losses to Murray State and Bradley. When I've watched Drake play this year, I know they've done some good stuff, but when I've watched them play, they didn't look super athletic to me. I think that's going to come back to bite them when you get into SEC play. Give me Missouri there. Texas Tech, UNC Wilmington. I think Tech probably wins this one. UNC Wilmington only has 7 losses, but again, I think Tech's a little too much. Looking at what UNC Wilmington's done here, not really beating anybody of note. Did lose to Kansas by about 20. Give me Tech there. Kansas, Arkansas. I kind of got close. I thought Arkansas might end up getting left out of the tournament. Kind of shocked West Virginia did, but Kansas piling up the losses here. But what they did in the non-con, pretty impressive. Win over Duke. But then you get into the Big 12, they've been hit and miss. Win over Arizona, lost to Arizona. Lost to Houston, lost to Tech. Split with Iowa State. Arkansas, not Arizona. Arkansas hasn't really beaten the good teams, but they have beaten some quality teams. Kentucky, Texas, both tournament teams. But I think Kansas, their team is hit and miss, but they've got guys that have been here for a long time. I mean, some of these guys on this roster have been there since they made that national championship run a few years ago. So I think Kansas wins there. Give me St. John's easily over Omaha. All right, moving to the Midwest. Sticking with the ones, give me Houston. Gonzaga, Georgia. I think it's a good story for Georgia that they made it, but I think Gonzaga is getting hot right now. Now, they haven't beaten super teams of note this year. I've got the one win over St. Mary's, win over Indiana, win over Baylor. For Georgia, though, they've been pretty solid. A win over Florida, obviously, is not easy to do. I think Gonzaga's filling it right now. Give me Gonzaga. Clemson, Mcneese State. Tough matchup. Clemson went on a good run last year. Both these teams have the same record. McNeese State, probably Will Wade's last tournament run there before he leaves. You've got a single-digit loss to Bama, a loss to Liberty, lost to Mississippi State. Then for Clemson, they did beat Duke. Now, other than that, they don't really have super big wins. I'm not going to count the Kentucky one. But other than that, they don't really have super big wins. But give me Clemson here. They've been there before. They were here last year. I think they can go on a run. Purdue and High Point. Purdue 22-11, High Point 29-5. Purdue has good wins in the non-con against Alabama. Good wins in conference against Maryland, Michigan. As for High Point, if so I can chill out here. Went over UAB, which kind of gave Memphis everything they could handle today. Went over North Texas, went over UNC Asheville. Give me High Point here. I think they get Purdue. Uh, Purdue without Zach Edey, how are they going to be? Zach Edey left last year. Are their guards good enough to beat High Point? Possibly, but I like High Point in that matchup. All right, Illinois, Texas, Xavier. This one's kind of 50-50 for me. I haven't been super impressed when I've watched Illinois. When they've played good teams, they've gotten beat. I think Texas, Xavier, I think the winner of that one's actually dips Illinois, so give me them. Kentucky and Troy. Kentucky pretty banged up going in, but they have some good wins. You got one over Duke, one over Gonzaga, one over Tennessee. For Troy, you got lost to Arkansas, lost to Oregon, 20-point loss to Houston. I think Kentucky, healthy or not, is still too good there. Give me Kentucky in that one. UCLA, Utah State, pretty good matchup. Utah State, not super athletic, but they do win ball games. For UCLA, you've got a win over Arizona, a loss to North Carolina. That is North Carolina's one good win on the year. Let's see, win over Gonzaga, win over Michigan State. So not just the highest wins. For Utah State, wins over Iowa, wins over St. Mary's, San Diego State. Kind of less athletic teams, I would say. I think UCLA wins that one with Mick Cronin, but if they show up like they did in the Big Ten tournament, they're going to lose. I don't know on this one. I'm leaning UCLA, but again, I wouldn't be shocked if Utah State wins this one. But when I've watched Utah State, I just haven't been super impressed with their athleticism. Let's go UCLA, I guess. All right, then Tennessee, Wofford, give me Tennessee. All right, so let's go back up to the top here. Second round matchups, round of 32. Auburn, Louisville. I think this is Auburn's arguably toughest matchup in their entire region. Playing that game in Kentucky is going to be tough. But from what I've seen from Janai Broom and Auburn, I know they've not been hot lately, but some of these teams, they get in the conference tournament play. It doesn't matter because, like Auburn, regardless if they lose in the first round of the conference tournament, they're going to be a 1 seed. So it really doesn't matter. They come in not caring. They're more concerned about the NCAA tournament. I think Auburn wins that one. All right, let's move on to Michigan and A&M. Michigan 25-9, big team. Dusty May has been on a run before. Then you got A&M. Like I said, they're pretty hit and miss. They've got a win over A&M, win over Purdue, win over Auburn, one of the few teams that's done that. But I think Michigan is hot right now. I know I said the tournaments don't matter conference tournament-wise, but if you can get hot and get on a run at the right time, you might be on to something. Give me Michigan there. All right, Ole Miss, Iowa State. Ole Miss, a lot of losses, but they are not the one that's not healthy here. Iowa State is not healthy. Ole Miss, Chris Beard has been here before. He's gone on a run before, but they have a lot of losses here. This one's another 50-50 one, man. I don't know. Kind of a toss-up here. Give me Ole Miss, though. I think Ole Miss can dip Iowa State. I like Chris Beard. I think he's a pretty good coach. Marquette, Michigan State. This is a good one for me because I think Cam Jones is good enough to go on a run in March and beat teams by himself. Now, they don't just have the highest quality of wins. I'm not super high on the Big East this year as well. But like I said, I'm not super high on the Big Ten either. Give me Marquette in this one. I think Marquette gets the job done. I like Cam Jones. I think he can go on a run. Sticking up here, round of 32, Duke, Mississippi State. I think Duke's just too much for Mississippi State, Cooper Flagg or not. And I think Cooper Flagg will be back by then. Give me Duke. Liberty, Arizona. Liberty gets the win over Oregon in the first round for me in round of 64. But Arizona, I think Caleb Love is a little too athletic. He's good enough to go on a run by himself. I like Arizona in that matchup. BYU, Wisconsin. This is one of the better round of 32 games. I think BYU is hot right now. I think they're playing pretty good. Their offense is good. Wisconsin has been hit and miss when I've watched them. Now, I do have a win over Arizona team in the Big 12, but I like BYU in that matchup. Give me BYU. St. Mary's, Alabama. Whether Alabama has Grant Nelson or not, I still think they're too good, too athletic for St. Mary's. So give me Alabama in that one. All right, sticking with the round of 32 down here, Florida, UConn. Now, is UConn good enough to go on a run again? Probably. Not championship level, but I think they could go on a run. But Florida's playing too good right now. I don't think they can do it. Memphis, Grand Canyon. So this is one that is a pretty good matchup. Memphis has good wins, but again, they've been close. I think Memphis wins this one, though. Although Grand Canyon is a team to watch. I've been impressed with them. I'm really considering picking Grand Canyon here. I'm not going to lie to you. Hmm. I don't know. Should we go Memphis or Grand Canyon? We'll stick with Memphis for now. I think they've got good enough wins over SEC teams. Missouri and Texas Tech. I've been impressed with Tech when I've watched them. Give me Tech in that one. Kansas, St. John's. Like I said, St. John's I'm not super impressed with as far as Big East is related. Kansas, they haven't gotten help from their 2 transfers, but I think if anybody's going to go on a run now, it's Bill Self. Give me Kansas in that one. I think Kansas shocks St. John's there, gets the dub. All right, moving over to the Midwest, Houston and Gonzaga. Gonzaga is playing good right now. You've got Ryan Nembhard, which has gone on a run before at Creighton, but I think Houston is too good defensively. They're pretty consistent. Gonzaga a little less consistent. Give me Houston there. Clemson, High Point. I think Clemson's good enough to win this one against High Point, even though they got the win over Purdue. So give me Clemson there. Texas, Xavier, and Kentucky. Kentucky, at least they are a little more consistent, have a little more upside than either one of these teams. Give me Kentucky there. UCLA, Tennessee. I think Tennessee's a little too much for them. Give me Tennessee in that one. All right, it's moving back up to the South. Sweet 16 matchup, Auburn and Michigan. As good as Michigan is playing right now, as bad as Auburn is playing, I still think Auburn has been consistent all year. They're good offensively. They're deep. Give me Auburn in that one. Then Ole Miss, Marquette, 6-7 matchup. This is another one's a toss-up. I think Marquette has the better player in Cam Jones, but I think Ole Miss has the better team. They've got wins, like I said, Bama, Tennessee. Those are 2 seeds, but also they've lost pretty handily by some of these teams. You know, look at this Auburn game. You look at this Florida game. For Marquette, they don't, their best win's probably Purdue. So they don't have a ton of great wins, but I do like their matchup here. You got 2 former Texas coaches as well, Chris Beard, Shaka Smart. Give me Marquette in that one. I like Marquette there. All right, let's move on to the east side, Duke and Arizona. Cooper Flagg versus Caleb Love. Arizona has guys that have been here before. Jaden Bradley with San Diego State, Caleb Love with North Carolina. Believe it or not, I like Arizona in this one. Give me Arizona with the shocker here. I think they get the win over Duke, even though they have played Duke before and lost to them earlier in the year. I like Arizona's chances there. BYU, Alabama. BYU is playing pretty good right now. Alabama, though, has been here as well. Grant Nelson's health, if they can get him back, I think Bama wins that one. I think he'll be back by then. Give me Bama. All right, let's moving down to the West. Florida, Memphis. I think Florida's playing too high right now. Memphis, I'm not even 100% sure they'll get here. They could lose in the first round, could lose in the second round. So give me Florida there. Texas Tech and Kansas. You got a Big 12 rematch here. Tech and Kansas once again. Tech beat them by 5 the last time they played them. Give me Kansas in this one. I think they can get hot. They're a team that could lose in the first round, could get hot and go to the Final Four. Just depends on how they're playing. Houston, Clemson. Clemson hasn't really beat super teams of note this year, minus Duke, but Clemson has been here before. Houston somehow always seems to find a way to screw it up when they get here. Give me Clemson in that one. In the upset. Then Kentucky, Tennessee. Got the SEC rematch. I think Tennessee's a little more consistent. Give me Tennessee there. All right, so Elite 8 matchups. Auburn, Marquette. I think Auburn, I'll go ahead and say this. They're too good, too deep. Give me Auburn. Arizona, Alabama. Alabama is good offensively. They can break 100 at any time, but Arizona, I like when the older guys have made reappearances in the tournament. Caleb Love, Jaden Bradley, give me Arizona. All right, moving down, Florida, Kansas. Kansas, pretty up and down on the year. I think Florida gets the win. Not only do they have Walter Clayton, they've got Elijah Martin from FAU transferred there. I like their chances there. Clemson, Tennessee. Tennessee plays good defense. They've got Zakai Ziegler and Lanier, but I kind of like Clemson as a shocker there to make the Final Four. All right, so reaching the Final Four here. Auburn, Florida, SEC matchup. Then we got Arizona and Clemson. First off, let's talk Auburn, Florida. This one, pretty much a coin flip. These teams have played multiple times this year, but give me Auburn in that one. Then you got Arizona, Clemson. This one, man, this one's a toss-up too. I'm going to go Arizona, though. And then I think Auburn ultimately gets the win over Arizona there. And Auburn is your national champion. But as of right now, first implications, that is my current bracket. What do you think? Let me know your Final Four down in the comment section. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button for me. Make sure you hit that thumbs up as well. It does help the algorithm. But comment down below. Make sure to like this video and subscribe.